Invite the students to kind of adapt a mentality that considers the presence of God in everything. In the sciences, how do the sciences explain the complexity of God's creation? And in music and dance and sports, how can those be forms of worship to God? And yeah, really, I think that just cultivating that type of mentality among the college campus can really serve as an opportunity for the religion department to kind of become the connective tissue between departments.
The second question being, what best practices in these areas can you share from your institution of higher learning? I want to focus on three main practices that we have at Wesleyan, one of which being Tuesday meditation chapel, where we usually get a word from a preacher or a fellow student who feels a call by God, which all of us have done, and fellow pastors. You yourself, I remember you coming and preaching at Wesleyan once. So it's at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays, which is open for everybody because on our campus, nobody has anything to do at 11 o'clock. So it really is an open opportunity for anyone to come in. And I think that it's also a great opportunity when we get pastors from outside the school and students who come from different ethnic backgrounds or who have different experiences in life to come together to really give the holistic approach of what it means to have a relationship with God and what it means to have a calling and to follow Him and be obedient to Him. Secondly, we have the Religious Life Council, which was just founded by Pastor Chris Scott, who is our chaplain, in which he has brought a group of us together who have a calling by God to be leaders on campus. And what he's doing is reaching back to younger generations and uplifting them. And at the same time as he's uplifting us, we're uplifting other people who are freshmen, sophomore, juniors. For example, I'm a senior, but one guy that's a part of the group is a freshman. And we have two people that are juniors. So then in that, we have a lot of different experience to come along. Some people are younger who can appeal to people that are freshmen, and then other people who can appeal to people that are older. And all together, we work as a team in order to accomplish things on campus, one of which being is we're in the process of planning to bring all of the religious groups together on campus and to be able to really fellowship with one another, to show everybody on campus that we're not just about ourselves, but we're about the spirituality of everyone, which has been a major theme that we've been playing on this whole conference. And in that, even though we are a Methodist school, we accept all spirituality on our campus, which I think is one thing that I really love about Wesleyan, is part of the reason why I came there. And in fact, like I said, I'm apostolic by doctrine. Pastor Chris Scott he's a Methodist, but in that we all can agree on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so I think that's one thing to remember, that no matter what doctrine that you're learning from, we all have something in common and that we all have a passion for God. And I think that's really helped bring people together on campuses, really driving force, especially in recent times with different groups coming together. It's really a mighty movement that we have going on. And then finally, within the FCA I'm the president of, where we do a lot. For example, we've adopted a young child from Haiti, and we sponsor and we get $35 a month sent to him, which, I mean, $35 doesn't seem like much here, but in Haiti, $35 goes a long way, which it pays for the child's education. They have food, they have clothes to wear, things like that. And also, two brothers that are part of our Fellowship of Christian Athletes have adopted two little girls who are also being funded by those two guys' family. So what we're doing is we're not just focusing on ourselves, we're not just focusing on the campus, but we're focusing on a global aspect and spreading the love of God. Doesn't just have to be here in America, but it can go all over, which I think is very important, because if we want to fortify the body of Christ, then we want to be able to reach out to everyone. And I think the best way to do that is by showing love to everyone, especially those who are in need, especially in Haiti. We know that there's a lot of problems going on there. So we really enjoy that. And also, we have Bible studies from the United, which is a Christian group on campus, in which they serve and we study the word, where in FCA is more of a preaching type thing from Pastor Ed McDaniels, where the Bible studies are more student-led, even though Fellowship Christian Athletes is student-led as well, but it's strictly student-led, and we study the Word of God. So not only are we getting the meat, but we're getting the water too. So it's the full approach, if you get what I'm saying. So, so.
For my portion in this question, I'm going to go Methodork on you. I'm born and raised Methodist. That's the reason I came to West Virginia Wesleyan, was because it was United Methodist affiliated. But in what areas should your college, university be working to strengthen the relationship of religion, spirituality in the academic environment? Our motto is open hearts, open minds, open doors. And, although that's the motto of the United Methodist Church, I think that would be a great motto for higher education and faith and spirituality. You have to have an open heart to love everybody as Jesus Christ calls us to do. There's no parameters on his love. And whether that be a Jew, Muslim, whatever it be, you bring them in and you love them just the same as you love everybody that's gathered in this room. We all come primarily from Christian backgrounds, but if somebody else walked in here right now, we'd welcome them just the same. And that's what we need to be doing. Open minds. You have to have an open mind when it comes to collegiate ministry, because although, I like to walk into a chapel service and hear an organ and open the hymnal and have some preaching, your view of worship may not be the same as mine. And we got to realize that. We got to diversify our worship experience and rethink what our worship experience can be. Back in November, I spent some time in Florida at a United Methodist affiliated exploration conference. And he was a Wesleyan alum on a panel down in Orlando, Florida, first time I ever met him. And he was talking about Sabbath. And chapel service each week should be a Sabbath for us. It should be a time of rest, rejuvenation, a time to reflect on the week prior, what happened. And really, it sticks with me. He told us to have a Sabbath moment a day and a Sabbath day a week. That Sabbath moment and Sabbath day a week is totally different for everybody. It may be sitting in your dorm room listening to music. It may be sitting in your dorm room watching a preacher on YouTube give a sermon. It may be coming in together in community in the chapel worshiping with one another. It could be a number of things. And we have to be open to that and let people observe their Sabbath as they feel necessary. And finally, open doors. Although we are trying to focus on higher education and faith and spirituality in the higher education setting, we have a community that surrounds every campus. With those open doors, find ways to have ecumenical services where you invite everybody. No parameters, just like Jesus Christ calls us to do. Have the doors of the chapel open. Have the doors of the college open to whoever wants to come in and be rejuvenated, observe their Sabbath in any way that they feel necessary. Those are ways that we, as college and universities, can be working to strengthen the relationship of religion and spirituality in our academic environments.
Are there any questions?
So when it
One thing that I've noticed a lot, I mean, Chris Scott, he's the new chaplain here. He does a great job reaching out to the other departments. The first thing that comes to mind is that he, like for our chapel service, he'll reach out to music majors and invite them in to, perform different pieces. And yeah, I don't know.
And also amongst a lot of our different groups, and I'll just speak on the one that I know best, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We're involved on another church off campus, which is non-denominational, but a lot of those children have came and watched a lot of us athletes and watched us play. So we do a lot where we're a lot of big brothers to them. I can use one specific example where a father just relinquished his rights to custody to these two young boys, and their mom and dad are divorced now. And the mom reached out to me and a few other guys that are part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and said, if you could in any way be just a big brother or a mentor to those children, then I would gladly appreciate it, because they were struggling. Their father just said he didn't want to have any more time with them. And that's just one example of those people. But as far as the community, like I said before, we're not just focusing on our campus, but we're working on the surrounding area. Just like Patrick just said. So we really want to make sure that we're showing Christ to everyone, That means even to the parents. If they need us to come pick up the kids and play basketball with them at the court or throw a ball around outside, then we'll be there to do it, because that's what's important. That's what ministry is. That's what ministry is. It's not about just being in the church. It's not just about talking at the pulpit. It's about going out and acting and showing them what love is.
Conference I spent some time at in Florida, Exploration, there was actually the Board of Extension Ministries there, and there were prison chaplains there to talk to us that are endorsed through the United Methodist Church into doing that. But you bring up a very good point that, I really never thought of. Right between Elkins and Buckhannon, we have TVRJ, and that is something that the two religious life organizations could work together. And I'm sure you have prisons up around Wesleyan, WVU, everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere throughout the state. And that is something that we could be doing as an outreach ministry to these people, because, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but, we're young people with plans in our lives, and sometimes they just got caught up in the wrong moment. But coming from younger people like us that are all here talking today with our lives on a track, maybe that would help them to reorient them into life, and maybe even get them affiliated with the colleges to maybe get some courses or something that they can use in their life to get a job, or a better job than what they could. So that's a very good opportunity.
I would just say, because I know a lot of people at school that don't do what they're supposed to, but even getting them involved with ministry for prisons and whatnot, that it would help them correct the things that they are doing as well, to see what your actions can lead to. A lot of times when you minister to people, you can be ministering to yourself as well, or you can see something be like, that could have been me, or that could be me, if not for God. So I think that's really important. I agree with you completely, and I also think that's important to know that I personally know a lot about prison. I have an uncle who's in prison. My father is a sheriff of Baltimore City. My mother worked in the Baltimore City Police Department. So I've had a lot of interaction with that my whole life. And just because somebody messed up doesn't mean that they don't deserve a chance, because, truth be told, where would we all be if we got caught every time we did something wrong? No, and I'm just saying, just saying, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So, yeah, they deserve to be fortified up and built up to the point where they can do what they're called to do. So, yeah, I agree with that completely.